Hey guys, this is Heart of Ruth. I do hope that this message meets you guys in good spirits. This is not going to be a prophetic word. This is actually going to be a teaching word. Because sometimes us prophets are called upon to take off our prophetic hat and put on our teaching hat. And this is one of those instances. So I received a lot of ugly messages, a lot of angry, ugly messages because of the last word that I put out regarding your kingdom spouse being set free from the counterfeit. And if you guys like, I'm going to link that to in the description box of this video if you'd like to go and have a look at that. But I received a lot of angry messages about that. There were a lot of folk who seemed displeased because they completely misinterpreted the entire word. And that brings me to a topic that the Lord has laid on my heart for a long time now to discuss and to use my platform to discuss. And it is not going to be a word that everyone is going to approve of, because not everyone is teachable, and I can understand that. In order for you to understand the word that I'm about to put out, you have to take it to the Lord, and He has to be the one to soften your heart. Otherwise, this word isn't going to be digested by you. You're going to it's not going to settle on your stomach, so to speak, figuratively speaking. This word is not going to settle on your stomach. That being said, I have to speak the truth. I have been with the Lord. I've sat with Him. It's been a while since He has been putting this on my heart, and here it is. Eat the meat, spit out the bone. So a lot of folk don't properly understand what divorce is in the eyesight of the Lord. And hopefully by the end of this teaching, you guys will understand. You'll have a better understanding of what divorce is in the eyes of the Lord. Now, divorce and separation and abandonment all have different meanings spiritually to what we know in the natural. In the natural, they tell you that you're not divorced until you go through the court system and you sign a piece of paper and the judge finalizes it. And that's when you're officially divorced. And while the recommended thing that the Lord would recommend that you do is that you do that for public purposes so that you can publicly state that you are no longer married to this person, the divorce has already happened. Most times before you even get to the courthouse, the divorce has already happened in the spirit. And I will explain to you guys why that happens. Now, there are two reasons why the Lord would permit divorce. One of them is, of course, infidelity, and the other one is abandonment or desertion. Now, let me explain to y'all what abandonment and desertion is, okay? And if you think that that is not biblical, you can feel free to go to Corinthians chapter 7, verse 15, okay? You can go there to 1 Corinthians chapter 7, verse 15, and you'll have a better idea of what abandonment looks like. Abandonment and desertion in marriage, there's a long list of instances that fall underneath that, as outlined by 1 Corinthians chapter 7, verse 15. But let me tell you what abandonment is. We all know what infidelity is, but some of us don't understand what abandonment is. In the eyes of the Lord, abandonment or desertion simply means that you have broken your marriage vows or you have broken your marriage covenant. And let me tell you what that can look like. Anytime you abuse your spouse, whether it's physically or emotionally or verbally, you abandon the marriage covenant. You break the marriage covenant. And let me tell you what abuse can look like. Abuse can look like you stating to your wife, you're good for nothing. You're never going to be a good wife. I can't trust you with anything. I can't listen to you for anything. You don't even make sense when you speak. Things like that, where you abuse someone with your mouth, you verbally abuse them. You are abandoning your marriage vows. You're breaking your marriage covenant when you do that. Do you understand that, people of God? The minute you raise your hand against your spouse and you hit them, you have abandoned the marriage covenant. You have broken the vows. Okay? The minute, woman of God, the minute you begin to berate your husband and disrespect his authority, his spiritual authority as the head of the home, you abandon your marriage vows. So if you're saying to this man, you're lazy, you're good for nothing, you're not a good husband, you're a waste of time, you're a waste of air, you're a waste of space, and all manner of other abusive stuff that you can possibly say to this man, the minute that man feels as if he can't even walk into his own home because of the fact that your mouth is going off 100 miles a minute, you have already broken the marriage covenant. Okay? Abuse, constant nagging that amounts to abuse, abuse in any form, whether it is physical, whether it is emotional, whether it is sexual, because there's sexual abuse that happens within marriages as well. There's assault that happens within marriages as well. Anytime you engage in any behavior that hurts your spouse, that deliberately hurts your spouse, you are abandoning the marriage covenant. And the minute you abandon the marriage covenant, you are divorced in the eyes of God. You are divorced in the eyes of God. So spiritually, you are already divorced from this person before you even go to the courthouse in the natural. That's just the way it is. That is just the way it is. Y'all have to understand everything happens in the spiritual before it happens in the natural realm. Everything. So divorce begins spiritually before it begins in the courthouse, in the physical courthouse. And if you don't want to take my word for it, like I said, go to 1 Corinthians chapter 7, verse 15. Read the entire chapter, as a matter of fact. And so, another thing that I want to point out to you guys is that every good and perfect gift comes from above. Every good and perfect gift comes from above. So how you know that this man or this woman was not sent by God? They ain't no good. They are not good for you. They hurt you. They stress you out. How could someone who is hurting you and stressing you out be sent by God? Especially if they're doing it deliberately. Especially if you've said time and time again, you know what, we can't, let's go see a therapist. Let's try to fix this. And they are resistant on every ground. That person could not have been sent by God. God isn't going to send you a man or a woman who's going to abuse you. God isn't going to send you a man or a woman who's going to cheat on you. God isn't going to send you a man or a woman who's going to lie to you all the time, who's going to manipulate you, who's